Hello, I would like to welcome you to this special episode or a special edition of our weekly meetings, reviewing the current Mauritanian reality. You wonder why this is in English? At this moment, I remember the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche's adage, "What doesn't kill me is stronger." And that's what's happening now in the reality. My Facebook account was restricted a month ago, and today I received this morning another set of restrictions that I can't go live for another 29 days and I can't comment or publish for 14 days. And this is not the first time. This has been happening for the previous years. Some of you wonder why this is happening. This is because of Mauritanian regime has joint campaigns with some Islamic groups in Mauritania targeting my content and reporting my social media accounts, not only on Facebook but on YouTube. 2 or 3 days ago I received an update from YouTube that some of my videos will be age restricted from now on. And as you know, these social media networks become global empires, and it's very hard to them to verify all the content that is being published on their networks. And especially all my videos are in Hassaniya. They may not have enough reviewers, and also it's very easy to make some decisions on such content because this is not in one of the world leading languages. But from now on, I will continue doing the same thing but in English, and I try to provide you with some translations, sometimes subtitles. I will try to comment on some events in the week in Mauritania. I have seen what is happening now between Will Abdelaziz and his companion Qazwani, and also his gang, because the current Mauritanian government and the current Mauritanian regime is the same as for the last 10 and 15 years, and some of them have been with Will Tayar's regime 20 years and 25 years ago, and some of them have been in office for 30 years. And this can never happen in any other country, but in Mauritania, the country of wonders, you can see all of this. I have made it clear in all my videos that what's happening between Qazwani and Will Abdelaziz has nothing to do with Mauritanian reality. Because this is some sort of settling scores, and he's now being scapegoated by his former partners, Qazwani, the minister, the generals. All of them have been pillaging the Mauritanian wealth, and now no one can distinguish between Aziz and Qazwani, especially in terms of property. Now they are accusing Will Abdelaziz of pillaging the country's wealth and being corrupt, and also money laundering. All these things are still happening in Mauritania with Qazwani. And Qazwani's wealth is if it's not bigger than Will Abdelaziz, at least the same. And this is the same regime, so they can't judge one another. The only way that all of them can be judged and introduced to justice when a real change happens in Mauritania is no justice in Mauritania. And you can see that even in the international report, and I would quote here the latest report of the American Department of State 2022 that mentioned that judges in Mauritania can be appointed and removed by the executive, and this referring to the president. The president in Mauritania is the king. He can remove judges, and at the same time the quality of judges in Mauritania is not that good. And as the report mentioned, that they are unskilled and they are always under tribal and racial pressures. A country that has no judicial system, I think that handling such issues related to pillaging the national wealth is out of context. We need to have justice first, and then we introduce these people to justice. The other point that all the racial tensions that have been taking place in Mauritania in the past as well as at the present, they are ignited and fueled by Mauritanian regimes to get people busy so they don't take care and they don't know what's going on in the country. So the ministers, the presidents, they keep looting the country, and the people get busy fighting, which are based on the color of their skins and the content of their characters sometimes, and regionalism, and also regionalism, nepotism, and racism. These are officially supported by Mauritanian regimes. During the electoral campaigns, you will see ministers traveling inside the country and leading campaigns based on the tribal mentalities, and you see tribal meetings and gatherings officially backed by ministers coming from the regime. The Mauritanian constitution is very clear about this point, but Mauritanian constitution is something and what is happening on the reality is something else. Qazwan, in all his outings, is always stressing that the country is poor, that Mauritania is a poor country. But no one is asking him this question. Why don't you decrease your salary? Your salary is ranked among top paid leaders in the world. The same as his former friend, Abdelaziz. He was ranked among top paid leaders of the world with the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of UK, the PM of Canada, and also the King of Spain. And the ministers in Mauritania, they are also highly paid. So as long as you're talking about a poor country, the first thing you should do is to decrease your own salary and those of your government. No minister is coming to his department to handle issues that matter in the daily life of the Mauritanians. They just come to their offices, try to reach themselves. The basis on which they are appointed to the positions have always been tribalism, racism, and Mauritanian governments always melting all the social components of Mauritania are being represented in the government. But because the regimes, they continue to invest in racism and in the social division, some of those voices, you will always see that this is, every community has its own leaders and they are backed by the regime. So now we are among some injustices backed and practiced by the official governments. It means that we cannot find a way out for any of these problems, and that's why we're still talking about racism, we're still talking about feudalism, and also the same related to the slavery. I've seen also 3 or 4 days ago, the United States Embassy in Mauritania is giving $7 million to support a program for the Mauritanian youth. I have seen some faces in that meeting that I have seen them for decades. They were also in other agencies related to the government, and they are corrupt, and everybody knows that anything that comes under their supervision or any program or project that they are part of is not going to be successful. It's to mention here that the American Embassy has been supporting Mauritanian communities and the Mauritanian youth at different levels. One of those partnerships that I would like to mention here when it comes to education. The American Embassy has so many programs that are funded by State Department. These programs, some of the poor Mauritanians who can't afford the tuition of a prestigious university anywhere in the world have benefited from these programs, and they did masters, PhDs at some prestigious American universities, and I'm one of them. I would like to seize this opportunity to thank Mr. Ali Babalisi, and he's the educational advisor at the Embassy, United States of America Embassy in Mauritania. I don't know if he's still in office or retired, but he has been a helpful and resourceful person for all Mauritanians, and especially students who aspire to further their studies in the United States. It's worth also mentioning that I have been in the States before the programs of the embassy. I applied for the Fulbright and the Humphrey scholarships, and I got them, and travel to the United States at the expense of the State Department and the International Institute of Education. I have studied the best American prestigious universities, the University of Buffalo, the State University of New York. That's where I did my pre-academic orientation, and also the University of Maryland, College Park. This gave me the opportunity to get a taste of American journalism by having some professional affiliations with National Geographic Traveler in the National Geographic Society in Washington, D.C., the Washington Post, the New York Times, the Bloomberg, and also travel to Ohio, have few months professional affiliation with Cincinnati Herald in Ohio. And I have done so many networks, and at the same time I had a professional affiliation with Al Jazeera. At that time they're still in DC. I heard afterward that they changed their location, now they are in Virginia. I would like to advise the embassy that giving money to Mauritanian government is not gonna solve the problems of Mauritanian youth, and especially those graduates coming back from the United States. Every Mauritanian, when they finish their program in the United States, they get 2 years physical presence in their countries. The idea for the American authorities is to let those countries benefit from these experiences and the education of their students and the people who have been in the United States for a long time. And now they are coming back with a lot of expertise the country needs. But in the Mauritania, it's not the case. When they come back, they feel that they are coming back to the middle of nowhere, because in Mauritania, I always remember the statement of Chinua Achebe that says, it doesn't matter what you know, it only matters who you know. And that's the case in Mauritania. If you don't know a general, a minister, a president, you are out. And whatever your academic credentials, you are not going to get any position. And that's why we have a high level of unemployment among those young intellectuals who completed their studies in the United States and in Europe. If you have some funds, try to find a way that you can help those returning graduates from the United States to start their life and stand on their feet, because the government is not helping them. In a country where corruption and mismanagement, you can't expect that these funds can be useful for the Mauritanian youth. I just would like to pass this message to the Embassy of the United States and to the international organizations. That money that you give to the government does not reach out to the people and does not reach out to the frustrated Mauritanian youth who are now trying to flee the country. Before the Fulbright, I was in the United States with a scholarship funded by the International Monetary Fund and World Bank in Washington, D.C. Before, I was in Belgium with another scholarship funded by US NATO, United States mission to the NATO. A lot of Mauritanians, especially the poor Mauritanians, they benefited from these programs, but the problem is always when you finish your studies and come back to your country, where everything is done in the shade and there are no clear procedures for hiring, there is no justice, and there is no freedom of speech. And the corruption is a daily routine and is being practiced in the governmental establishments, in schools, in the presidency, in ministries. I just wanted to share this with you for this week, and from now on we're gonna change the way we're handling this content, and I hope everything goes well. I will never give up, and if they continue reporting my content, now my content is live in English. For the YouTube and Facebook, the picture should be clear now, and this is the content I've been presenting for years. Those joint campaigns organized by the Mauritanian regime and the Islamic groups, it's some sort of stabbing in the back, because they tried on the ground in the reality to refute the arguments that we are presenting on the social media, and they couldn't. Final stage, they come out with this idea to create campaigns and to target me on social media, reporting my accounts. All this is to silence me, but I will never be silent. Thank you very much for watching this video.